Alek Manoah made a second rehab start for the Toronto Blue Jays, and this one went a lot better than the Florida Complex League start that he had the other day. So he gave up 11 earned runs in his first start for the Toronto Blue Jays in the minors, and now in this one in Double A for the New Hampshire Fisher Cats, struck out 10 in 5 innings. So impressive stuff out of him. We saw some progression, so we'll break that down and much more on this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Briones, alongside host Nick Goss. Now, I'm doing this video for parts unknown. I will not reveal my location, but Alek Manoah had another start yesterday for the Toronto Blue Jays in the minor leagues. He's progressing towards a return in the major leagues, but I still think he's a ways away from making an impact at the major league level. I still think the Jays want him to take his time in his development, but very good sign in the right direction yesterday for him.
Yeah, Blue Jays unfortunately didn't do too well in their game, but we had some positive news because it was right after, the Blue Jays had their unfortunate loss that Alek Manoah took the hill and he did great. Before we get into it, make sure to hit the subscribe button and shout out to Peter for recording with the, so ignore the mic quality for this video. But let's just get right into the video here. And this is Alek Manoah. He had a phenomenal start, and this is very, very big for the Toronto Blue Jays simply because we need him to be back. We need him to be back sooner than later. And Ross Atkins went on, was it a week ago, whatever it was, on the radio show, saying that they fully expect him to be back this season. And this was a very positive step in that direction as he goes 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, and 10 Ks. And the strikeouts are the biggest thing, I think, for me here because, last year and throughout his first couple of years in the majors, he was getting a fair bit of strikeouts. He wasn't a strikeout guy by any means, but he was at least, 8 or 9 Ks per 9 innings, and then that completely disappeared this season. And Peter, he had a very, very good outing, and I wasn't able to watch it, but people who were there said that his stuff looked very, very good, his command looked very, very good, minimal walks, and his slider was wipeout. So if he can continue this, again, this was following his Florida Complex League start where it's becoming more and more evident that he did not care about the results in that because Double-A hitters are miles ahead of these Florida Complex League guys, and Manoah carved him up.
Yeah, and I didn't catch the game either, but looking at the box score and just the overall reaction on Twitter, his stuff was a lot sharper today. The velocity was up from what we've seen earlier on in the season, but his command wasn't necessarily great either. I'm not sure how many pitches he threw, but he had
a lot of them are balls.
In a 65 pitch stretch or whatever it was, he threw 39 strikes. So that's not exactly the best strike to ball ratio for Alek Manoah. He's never been a lights out command guy. That's never been his calling card, but he's always been able to dot that pitch, that big pitch, and make those tough pitches in tough moments. So I liked what I saw out of him yesterday. Hopefully this is a sign of better things to come as well. But I don't want to rush him back to the big leagues. I know the need for starting pitching. The Blue Jays need that fifth starter that's going to go out there and give them innings every fifth day. But I don't want him to rush back and then go back to square one once he does return to the majors.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think they're going to rush him back, at least hopefully not. But at the very least, this is a huge step in the right direction because it's been a very long time since he's had a quality start at any level of baseball there. And this Rashad Davidi was on the scene actually for the game in person. He said Alek Manoah was done after 5 innings of 1-run ball. He struck out 10, allowing 3 hits and 3 walks, and hit a batter. Looked more confident as the outing progressed, throwing 82 pitches, 47 strikes. So, yeah, his command wasn't fully there. I probably misspoke earlier. His command wasn't fully there, but the strikeouts were there, which obviously helped. And you want to see more than 47 strikes and 82 pitches, especially because one of his big issues this year so far has been his command. However, 10 strikeouts for Alek Manoah, I don't think you could have, put up a better number for your first Double-A start than 10 strikeouts. The walks aside, but the strikeouts are a big thing for him. And again, he's not a strikeout guy, but if he can use his wipeout slider that he has, along with his, velocity, which I think was up in the 94, 95 miles per hour, then it was very, very good. And he also felt very, very confident going into the game there.
Yeah, it's just important for him to get confidence, and it was great to see him smiling after the game. That's a big part of his game, just the confidence that he exudes out there on that mound, and he's so focused on getting guys out, and sometimes he got lost in the shuffle this year, just that it is a game at the end of the day, and that the reason that they play this game is because it is fun, and that's a big thing for Alek Manoah. He's got to go out there, flash that big smile that he possesses, and just remember why you started playing this game as a kid. So I'd like to see him smiling, yesterday night. It was great to see him having fun out there on that mound again. Hopefully he can carry it over into the big leagues yet again.
Yeah, and again, the Florida Complex League, like you mentioned in the intro there, he gave up 11 runs, and a lot of Jays fans, including me and Peter, were a little bit worried, but we were one of the ones who, went on our video the day after and said there's a very good chance that it was a process thing more than a results thing. And Brendan Delaney tweeted this. He said, "My working conspiracy theory for Manoah is this. The Florida Complex League game was just to locate his pitches where results didn't matter. There's a chance he knew he was going to get lit up. This AA game is for results." And Peter, you said this yourself on the video. You made this before all this even happened, and I think I tend to agree with you because John Schneider even said right after Manoah's awful start that they were happy with what they saw. Obviously not results, pending, but they promoted him to AA after that horrible start. So if they were looking for results at the Florida Complex League, then you were more than likely would have, threw him out there for another start rather than throw him right back up to AA. But it seemed like in the start yesterday, from everyone who was on there, he was looking for, at least to some degree, I'm sure he was still working on a lot of, process stuff, but he wanted results and he did not want to get lit up again. And he completely dominated AA hitters like he should.
Yeah, exactly. He's this guy was a Cy Young finalist, and he should be dominating AA hitters, especially at 25 years of age. It's not like he's 45 and just wanting to play baseball and just back in the minor leagues. That's not what it is. He's going back there to find something that had eluded him to start the season. Now, the Florida Complex League, for all we know, we had no idea. We had no game film. For all we know, he could have been throwing 93-mile-an-hour fastballs on the outside corner all game long, and those hitters were just teeing off on it. Maybe he was just working on one specific pitch 85 times, and that's very possible. Obviously, you look at the box score, it's not encouraging, but you could tell that he was obviously working on things because you can't go from that extreme against worse hitters to a dominant performance against AA hitters in the span of a week. It just doesn't make sense. So obviously there was something more to it. We may have overreacted initially, but I figured there was something up there initially.
Yeah, and he looked really good yesterday. And the key here is that he's going to be back at some point throughout the season. It seems like whether we like it or not, that's what Ross Atkins said, unless, bearing some major setbacks. So him having an outing like he did yesterday was step one in the direction that was, obviously needed for the Blue Jays. And if he would have got lit up yesterday, then there probably could have been a different question. But he has the stuff, he has the demeanor, he just needs to put it all together, and hopefully he does that. And he touched on this after yesterday's game. You can pause the video and read it if you want. I'm not going to fully go through everything, but he basically just touched on his struggles, how it's been a lot of ups and downs trying to figure out everything. He shouted out the fans as well for, coming out to the rainy game yesterday. Everyone was kind of locked in. It worked out because the Blue Jays weren't playing while he was playing, so all the eyes were on him, and he went out there and absolutely performed. And he said, one of the biggest things he learned was you can get down on yourself, and you think you're not good, you can get emotional about it, but no one cares, just keep fighting. And that's exactly kind of Manoah's whole demeanor is just, he got to bounce back. He knows he has the stuff to pitch in the major leagues and pitch at a high level. So if he can just put it all together, get past the mental hurdles, which I think a lot of it was mental hurdles and, maybe even an injury, who knows, but he seems to be slowly coming back. And like you said, Peter, don't rush him, but regardless, this outing was huge for not only, Manoah's sake, but for the Blue Jays as well going forward.
It's all about confidence for him, and you could tell his last few starts before getting sent down to the minor leagues that his confidence was shot, and it's usually up there. It was all the way down here. It wasn't even visible in the picture, and that's what was wrong with Alek Manoah in those last couple starts. And I'm glad that the Blue Jays nipped it in the bud, and they said, here, go down there. There's no pressure. Go figure out whatever was not working and come back here when you're ready. The Blue Jays have held down the fort somewhat. Obviously, they're only 5 games over 500 now, and we're kind of hitting the panic button, but they're still in an okay spot considering their ace, their Cy Young finalist from last year, is now pitching in the minor leagues. So if you were to tell me that and they're 5 games over 500, I'd take it as a Blue Jay fan, honestly.
Yeah, and they start against the White Sox tomorrow. Obviously, the sweep was very unfortunate, but they need to bounce back, and there's no time to be sad about it because tomorrow they start a huge series, and hopefully they can get back into competition. But that'll wrap up the video. Let us know what your thoughts are on Alek Manoah, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thanks.